For this slot, we're going to end up doing lightning talks. So for now, we just have two speakers. If we have some time, I might be able to throw in a third person at the end. But we'll have Mark Pearson here to do some updates on the Lenovo Linux story. And then I'll share a little bit on the community operations team. New reworking of the revival of the community operations team. Mark, I think I just brought you up here.
Yeah, it's working. You're working.
I can see you. How's the release party going for you so far?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect.
Yeah, release party's great. I missed the last session. I had a meeting, but I got to send it. It's great, and it's nice to be on. I wasn't expecting this, so just for everybody, I have planned nothing. But yeah, release party's great, and the usual kudos to the Fedora guys, and Fedora 38 is a really nice release. So that's good.
Excellent. Well, these are going to be lightning talks, so they're very much off the cuff. Kind of the.
Does that mean I just talk fast, or do I throw light bolts, like lightning bolts at people? How does it work?
That one will be up to you. However you would like to take the presentation, but slides are optional for these. These are usually, kind of just the thinking out loud. So,
yeah, I had no time to do slides, and anyway, yeah, who needs slides? So I genuinely very happy to take Q&A, and I've got the Q&A tab open on the side. If anybody's got any questions, let me know. I've always wanted to do one of these where I don't plan anything and take lots of questions and answers. So hey, I get to try it. So that's kind of fun. I did. While people gather their thoughts, I can give just a sort of like summary update of basically last year, just fill people in. Last year it was one of those mixed years. There's a lot of good stuff that happened, and then a few road bumps as well. Pretty much normal. I was quickly going through checking how many platforms we did. So we did Linux enablement, 23 ThinkPads, 10 ThinkStations, and then we also did 4 refreshes on the ThinkStations, 2 ThinkBooks, 14 ThinkCenter, and 3 ThinkEdges. So that, to my math is right, is 52 different platforms we did Linux enablement on. So it was pretty busy. So that means Linux runs well on quite a number of Lenovo devices, which is, from my point of view, is good. That's one of the key things in the program. We had Fedora, which is, of course, the bit we're all really interested in. We had Fedora preloads on Z13 or Z13 for those in Europe, and the Z16, X1 Carbon Gen 10, and then we had new ones. We added the P14S AMD Gen 3 and the P16S AMD. And then we actually managed, we failed the previous years, but last year we got a Fedora preload for the P1 Gen 5 and the P16. And I just say a shout out to the Red Hat engineers working on the Nouveau driver, because we've had to cancel those, or we've had big issues with them previously. So we actually got it working enough that it would pass our QA. So we had those preloads which are available. Which does lead me on to this slightly bad news. So that one of the big questions I get is, how do I buy a Fedora preload? And it is on the websites. So EMEA or Europe is the best. It was the frustrating bit last year is we before that, we had COVID, supply demand, all these issues. We're like, oh, great, we got past that. And then, but basically, we had some issues with where teams actually putting systems up. EMEA did best. EMEA are actually kind of good. They're a bit hard to find, and that's something which we got to fix. I don't know how, but we're working on that. But if you go for your country, you should be able to like take the X1 Carbon or the Z series and go down and just when you go to build your machine, there should be Fedora as an OS selection there, so you should be able to do it cheaper than Windows. For the ones now I couldn't find it for the P1 and P16 when I was checking last week. I don't know why. It should be there, so I'm gonna have to check on that. And on the US side of things, they only got the X1 Carbon up, and that was purely down to the web team issues, nothing that the Linux team could do. So we have improvements to make there, but so that's something I'll be focusing on for next year. Other updates, so that covered that. MIPI camera, I don't know if anybody's been following MIPI camera. It's new technology is proving challenging on Linux. Again, I want to give a shout out to some of the Red Hat engineers, particularly Hans de Good and Kate Hussein, who did a RPM Fusion solution, which works for the X1 Carbon 10 and Yoga 7. I might have gotten the numbers wrong, but anyway, last year's ones, and we're working on getting the Carbon 11 and Yoga fixed for that. It's a closed source blob, so that's why it's on RPM Fusion. And there's still a lot of work to do there to get it. Intel is still upstreaming their driver, but just a special shout out to the Red Hat folks who at least made it work. I'm still not recommending that device for Linux users. It's still a bumpy experience, but big progress. We made progress on W1. I think I say that every year, but we made progress on that. It's still a really, really hard device to get going. And I think they were all the key highlights that I wanted to cover. I'm not seeing any questions, but those were those. What else? Oh yeah, I'm going to send my advance apologies when I'm here. I can't make it a Flock. I'm on vacation with my family, so I'm really sad. Flock was the one I really wanted to go to that conference, and I can't make it. So I can't do that.
Well, we're definitely appreciative of getting some of the
and I think
from Lenovo and presence there too.
Yeah, so Lenovo, I think it's okay to say Lenovo are sponsoring it, so we are doing that, but unfortunately I can't go. And yeah, Dusty, send a representative. I'm trying. I know Matthew mentioned some of the finance things. Right now, travel is not allowed unless you're an executive. I kind of took myself out of that running by being on holiday, so I'm trying to get someone else to come, but I don't know if it'll get approved yet. There's a question on the X13S in the chat. Yes, and there's actually, yes, Justin, you're completely right. It's still problematic. There's more patches landing upstream. I think 6.4 is when things get better. Oh, you got yours working. Awesome. Definitely, and that was always a proof of concept project. There's actually more happening behind the scenes and stuff I can't talk about, but yeah, it's not an easy install yet. It's getting there. It should be down to just that device tree blob and the EFI partition. That's what we want, but I know there's still kernel patches. I'd actually love to do a Fedora X13S thing on it, but I don't think we're quite there yet. But it was just to set the scene for anybody who's interested. That was ARM-based laptop, and so for us it was a proof of concept working with ARM and Lenovo to do it, and they were great partners to work with, and still are. It was mostly to see how we could do and show there's a market for it and show that we could do it. So it's been a really interesting project, and there's been some good things coming out of it. A lot of progress. So I think hopefully we'll see
on that hardware piece. I was just coming from Red Hat Summit last week, and people were definitely excited about seeing Linux on more preloaded machines.
Yes.
And I think the reason why we're looking at this a lot in the Fedora end of things is as part of the new 5-year strategy that we're mapping out in the project. One of those objectives that we've laid out is trying to make Fedora more accessible and available to people on a larger scale. So, I think Lenovo here, Lenovo is a pretty great example of being a great partner with us and working upstream.
Well, it'd be nice if you sold them, right?
No, but I mean, it's been nice to see that kind of collaboration that's been there, and working in the upstream to make some of this Linux preload work possible. I've been following on even some of the firmware upgrade issues in the FW Upgrade Manager project, and it's just one of those cool things that's for me to see. Seeing the ecosystem there and people wanting to work towards it. I think it's a really exciting thing that we're also hoping we can get more vendors on board for working towards Linux preloads.
No, I think so. And our programs definitely, I know sometimes we get because we're quite quiet. We don't do any marketing. We don't have anybody on the team who does that or any budget for it. But the Linux team is still doing well. Linux sales are actually solid and going up, which given where the industry has been is a good sign. I can't share numbers, but we're doing okay. Nothing that makes you go wow, but we're doing good and very much alive and well. Fedora is a great community to work with, and I love what Fedora is doing. It's always easy to get the distro up and running on the platform, and It's good. I saw some things about Firmware Manager. I did actually just check the stats there before this. So I think in total we're getting over 21 million downloads, which blew my mind. I was just like, holy moly! Sort of like over 3,000 firmware files. I think over 800 devices in total. It's nuts. So yeah, LVFS is an amazing product. But yeah, it's good. Yeah, and we need to do a better job of making the Fedora preload available for users to just buy, and that's a challenge. I think I said it in last year's presentation, but anybody sports who is able to do it, thank you so much. It does make a difference. And if you can't, let the web teams know. You can leave feedback on the website and let them know, because it really is, they are doing it based on customer demand. I'm a little bit of a broken record internally. They all know I'm just going to push Linux. So if you're looking system, let them know. And I think, honestly, I suspect that's true for any vendor, right? If vendors don't hear, Linux is amazing. We all know it works really well on old laptops, or we can buy it with no OS. And I get it, totally get it. But if you are buying a new one, make sure your vendor of choice, whoever they are, knows that you wanted to buy it with Linux, because it's the only way they will change.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mark. So as we're getting ready to gear up for the Fedora Linux 39 release cycle over the next 6 months, just
Yes.
wondering if there's any highlights or exciting things in the Lenovo end of things to.
Yes. So actually, no, I should talk about what's coming up. So actually, I got our X1 Carbon 11 Fedora 38 preload that got signed off yesterday. So I actually have sent the web teams nag saying, can we get this online? I don't know how long that will take, but it's done. You know, that's done. Apart from MIPI camera, MIPI camera is not supported. Computer vision, it's called on our website. So, but yeah, that one's out, and we do have all the other platforms following. The AMD ones are a little bit later this year, and the P series are later this year as well. And I don't know if I can tell you this. We are expanding the Linux, the Fedora portfolio for next year, not this year, for next year. I got approval.
Awesome.
I'm not going to say what, but yes, there will be more Fedora. So that's good news, and hopefully I'll be able to share soon what those platforms are. But yes, we're doing more. Does that help?
That's what we always like to hear. More Fedora.
No, a big thank you to the community. Genuinely, I know there was during Matthew's presentation, and I called out a few names, but thank you to everybody who chips in. You guys have got a very vibrant and active and alive community, and it's lovely to work with.
For sure. And maybe one call to action is, if you are interested in this topic around Linux preloads and some of the work Lenovo's doing, I did drop a link in the chat to a Fedora discussion thread that Joseph kicked off. Kind of an open brainstorming place for where we can think around how to make it more visible for folks who are looking for Linux preloads on their hardware. So some interesting stuff there. Maybe we can pull together a Fedora Magazine interview around the long tail story of how Lenovo was able to get Linux preloads into their web store. I think that'd be a very interesting story, both to see kind of how Lenovo went through it, but maybe also to inspire some other vendors and OEMs to take the plunge into the Linux space.
Yep, absolutely. I don't want to overlap if you've got somebody else coming. There were a couple of questions. So the Red Hat laptops. So are you a Red Hat employee? Because I think you get, we do preloads for you guys. But we don't do Red Hat preloads on the website. That's just not a thing we do.
I think the exciting thing for folks or even folks who are inside Red Hat who may not know, but sometime this month, I think it's June 5th, Red Hat is actually switching its employee operating system.
I wasn't going to say anything, so that's all you said that.
No, that I think it's pretty open now.
It is okay.
Going to go GA this week or next week, but it's official. So like Red Hat's, if you're a new employee at Red Hat or you're getting a refresh for a laptop, by default, if you order a Lenovo hardware, you'll have a Fedora operating system preloaded and installed there.
Yes. Yeah. And there was one question about a Win-free keyboard layout. I'm sorry. No, I don't. I tried. It would be great. I think we need that. We need the sales numbers to be a little bit higher for that one.
One day we won't have to get all these custom keycaps made.
Yeah, exactly. Sticker.
But for now, we'll have the stickers. Hopefully we can get some more of those ready for Flock this year to distribute, and not just for folks who are there, but also through doing some giveaways at our release parties. Matthew mentioned in the opening remarks this morning that we're kind of in the middle of both a swag transition and at a point where we're ready to refresh on some swag. So it's a little slower this time, but I hope by Flock we'll have some nice new goodies to ship around and have for folks.
Cool.
Well, thanks, Mark, for jumping in on the here and giving us the latest scoop on Lenovo World.
And yeah, I think people know where to find me if they have any questions. I try and make myself as available as possible. So
awesome.
Hit me up.
Always appreciate it. Thanks for jumping in.
Alrighty. Thanks. And I'll be around for the rest of the day, and I definitely plan on attending some of these talks. Thank you.
Thanks for being a part.
Right. Don't want to leave the session, but I want to leave this. I'm not sure how to do that. If I just type leave, am I going to go?
If you press that red leave button, it'll drop you from the audio video, but it'll keep you in the session. Nice. /leave, yeah. Cool. So for the second half of this session, unless we have anyone that wants to come up last minute for a lightning talk, I had a request in the session chat, or the event chat rather, for community about kind of what's happening with the community operations team conversation. So I am gonna open some tabs here, and then I'll share my screen, and I can talk a little bit on what that conversation is and what we're thinking about now. Alt F4, that's useful to remember. I will remember that when now I guess I'm going to be doing this presentation stuff a lot more. So let me share my screen. Okay. So maybe to take one step back. So back in 2015, end of 2015, a team started in Fedora called the Community Operations Team. So back in the time that the team kicked off, it was mostly focused, you can kind of see here on the right sidebar, it was like almost like a meta team to help teams and SIGs and working groups in Fedora to have more support for getting onboarded or trying to build a team, to get help around messaging and outreach so folks know what you're up to. I'll put a link in the chat to some of our older documentation here. The caveat here is that for a long time, the team has kind of been in a dormant, inactive state. There's a number of reasons for this, but one of the things that I've been thinking around is how we could have like better glue between some of the different teams, whether that's in like the engineering part of Fedora and the Mindshare part, or within the Mindshare group teams. It's an area someone, I think it was Ankur, who mentioned a while back about, this challenge of, well, in the engineering side of the project, we have this changes process. That's this very clear process, straightforward way of how you introduce new changes at the distribution level. You propose it for the X number release, it has a discussion, it gets voted on by FESCO, and then either the work happens or it doesn't. But on the community end, or in the Mindshare end of things, we don't really have a great mirror for helping shepherd changes through the community. A lot of folks just kind of either you figure it out and you know where to go and what to do, or kind of like learn by experience, I guess. So it's hard to, if you're coming into it for the first time, it's hard to know where to start. So a while back, I started this discourse thread, just thinking out loud about what, if this community operations team were to be revived or make a comeback, what kinds of, what would this team look like in 2023? How the team started 7 or 8 years ago now is maybe not fully relevant for where we are now. So this was just a brainstorm thread that ended up getting some really great discussion and feedback around like what this team is, whether the concept even made sense, or whether some of these, I put out this idea of like three main buckets that this team would cover as part of a revival, which I grouped at the time as kind of data science, working with all those cool Fedora messaging notifications and activities that are on the messaging bus. We've had some really cool examples in the past of folks who have used that data to do storytelling on things that we've done. I'm just looking if I can pull one of these. We had a really awesome report, just one example of this data science piece from FOSDEM 2016, where B. Padalkar had looked at the people who scanned a badge at the FOSDEM 2016 booth at the conference, and then saw like, well, did these people continue to do things in Fedora after they got the badge, or did they just engage with us at FOSDEM and then never do anything with us again? It was actually a pretty interesting story about how, I can't remember what exactly the ratio was, but we got to see like, okay, well, we had some people that were already engaged in the project and they got the badge. We had some folks that got the badge and never came back. And then we had some folks who after that point started doing things in the Fedora community, which was a really cool thing that we could point to is like, hey, we went to this event and we were able to bring in some new folks and contributions from this event. So that's where that data science piece was coming from, is having some folks who are like interested in working with this data, asking questions about the community and trying to prove different hypotheses with what we have available. The second part, which is absolutely a terrible name, was this product operations group, which I had kind of envisioned as this kind of work that goes between teams, helping teams be successful and collaborate effectively. Some examples of that would have been, like I remember in the past, the community ops team had worked with the Python SIG. When we were going from Python 2 to Python 3, there were a bunch of packages that needed to be migrated and updated to Python 3. So those, what the community ops team did was make a big kind of beat the drum for getting folks aware that like, hey, like we're trying to make these steps to migrate the distribution to Python 3. And we did some community blog posts about Hackfest that the team was doing. We helped do a call to action for like packages that needed help or needed extra maintenance or needed upstream work to migrate to Python 3. So that was what, an example of what kind of fit into this bucket, but really trying to help teams work effectively together. And then the last part was this idea of storytelling, which is, I think, always been at the heart of what community ops is about. But being able to, we do all these amazing, awesome things in the Fedora community all the time. One thing that was clear to me is that since the time I got involved in Fedora and going out in my career, Fedora is this really amazing open source bed from technical innovation and working in a fully very open source environment. As well as having this amazing community behind it. And I think that's a really powerful story that a lot of people want to hear about. And it's something that makes the Fedora community an exciting place to be. So the storytelling piece is helping make sure that we're actually carrying those messages about all these things that are cool and amazing and awesome about Fedora, and making sure that we're helping share that at least inside the community, not to step on the toes of a marketing team, which is really that external outreach and going a little bit wider. The storytelling part is also important for our contributor community, because it's important that, you're in a community as large as Fedora, it's hard to know everything that's going on at once. So a little bit better internal messaging can help make sure that where people can collaborate and work together, that we're doing that better. And, making sure that we're capturing those ideas. Some of this is still being developed. This is all kind of an open discussion right now. I will say kind of a call to action here for this idea. Some of the notes I've been capturing from this discussion, both from some one-on-one conversations with folks, as well as the Fedora discussion threads. I'm just kind of leaving everything here in this wiki page right now. if you're interested in this kind of work, or you at least like to be informed of when there's new updates or news, I encourage you to add yourself in on the wiki page that's here. Let me put this here. For some reason, I can't log into the wiki. It says that I've made I don't know. I've logged in too much, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was all those edits to the schedule on the last day or something. I don't know. But if you can log in, go ahead and take a look at it. You can add a line to the table with your name and a little bit on what you're interested in, or what kind of capacity you'd have for helping out with something like this. Right now, it's I'm not able to drive too much to take this until after Flock. I'm hoping so a shout out to Shimantro Mukherjee, who's helping a lot with the kind of the brainstorming around this process. He's kind of helping me as a think partner for some of this. But we're hoping that we can do something at Flock to help kind of kick off this idea of rebuilding this team, and then take whatever we come up with Flock to move into a Fedora council level community initiative. So I just wanted to, it came up in the chat. I don't really have a whole lot to point to here, and I'm not, nothing is ready to leap into action just yet, but it's definitely something that's on my mind a lot. And I think this would be a great part of building a team to help with a lot, like making it easier for folks in the community to help out with some of this meta open source work that I think is a really important skill. And it's part of what helped me get started in open source when I first showed up in Fedora 8 years ago. So that's my spiel on this community operations piece. If you're interested, there's some questions that I've left here on the wiki page too, around kind of visiony kind of a view for the team. But definitely, if you're interested, add your name to the wiki page on the table, and hopefully come August, we can start looking at how we could build this team up going forward. So thanks for coming to my lightning talk. I'll look at the chat here. For sure, Akash. And again, this is all very early stage thinking. It's nothing that's too baked here, which is why I haven't really been going out beating the drum about it too much, just having the discussion thread to start a conversation about it and think around what might this team look like and how would it be a healthy team in 2023.